Did you know this Fortnite emote will break Miss Incredible? Even on a normal day, she's already becoming the most distracting skin in the game.
Are you 555?
Hey yo, what the?
Fortnite maybe should have kept it in the vault, like our weirdest Halloween skin, Shaquille O'Neal. There's one way to celebrate the season, dressing up as Shaq is a strange one, and fans can't stop laughing. Personally, I like it, but I gotta admit, despite the fact everyone wanted the Stark Industries rifle back, Epic kind of ruined it. Before, it used hit scan and had insane accuracy. But now, well... Speaking of Marvel, you can't deny how popular Spider-Man is, but it feels like Fortnite ran out of ideas when they added the latest version, Iron Spider. Despite us already having Tom Holland's Spidey in the game, they didn't give fans the MCU version of Iron Spider. Instead, it was the most mid-design of all time. I'll say, the emote was insane.
Yeah, boy.
But fans wish this was a mythic instead. And they can't stop laughing at the weirdest part of the Marvel season. You can't convince me that Iron Spider, Wolverine, Deadpool, even Tony Stark have their own guitars. Instead of dropping festival instruments for characters that make sense, they handed us an Iron Man bass. You're telling me instead of just collecting real-life bass guitars, he plays one made out of his own armor? Not to mention Wolverine, this guy?
Have you been checked for ADHD?
He would never pick up an instrument. At least the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles made sense. Players are also asking, why on earth is Marshmallow back again? Every 6 months, the shop updates with a brand new version of him for some reason, whether it's Marsha, Marshanobi, or now a Halloween skin. Players have one question: who asked for this? There's one experiment Fortnite keeps returning to which never works. Over the years, we have had tons of invisibility items, from Shadow Stones to the Predator's Cloak, but they're always controversial. This time around, they tried to turn it into a medallion, making you invisible when crouched. A medallion slot which could have been taken by any other marble power, and they went with this. Let's just say fans are not impressed and have been dropping it from their inventory all season. And I think we all agree Chun-Li needs to stay in the vault and never come back. Whenever a ridiculous moment happens, she always seems to be at the scene of the crime.
I am not that down bad.
Huh?
It's also why Fortnite needs to get rid of party hips. There's only one reason people are buying this, but instead of keeping it in the vault, Epic made it 10 times worse, adding hip check instead.
Oh, brother.
Combining this with skins like Chun-Li and Miss Incredible, it's no wonder the emote has come back 8 times already. Everyone's buying it. When it comes to balloons, these are usually hit or miss. It entirely depends on the season they release in, so when you have a Marvel season full of jetpacks, flight suits, skull dashes, and more, begs the question, why on earth would anyone choose balloons? To make it worse, pairing them with these items makes them kinda useless. And I gotta admit, Fortnite obviously did this because of their birthday. Except if it was just balloons on the floor, no one would really care. It's the fact they designed a whole birthday medallion around this item, which sadly no one's picking up. On the other hand, Sweats are still finding ways to appreciate it, comboing them with shield bubbles for insane strats. I think even Epic has to admit, big bush bombs need to go. These always manage to find a way to come back. It's like every season now we get a last minute update adding them to the game. Surely someone has to be using these for Epic to keep bringing it back. I mean, they have the statistics. But the stats that are the most important is behind the worst car in Fortnite history. At first, they dropped the Cybertruck for free, which you could argue makes this a little easier to digest, but let's be real, it should have stayed in the vault. Not even 1 week later, it was in the store for $23. At least Black Panther's Mythic will always be free. Of course, this perfectly fits Shuri as the tier 100 skin, so despite the fact it's a super weak item, it makes sense why Epic brought it back. On the bright side, they're trying their hardest to make it more powerful, because back in 2020, this was just vibranium armor, which no one picked up. To fix this, they turned it into Black Panther's claws, and I'm not gonna lie, they're not too bad. They're just not up to par with other items right now, and because they lock you onto the enemy up close, they are in perfect range to just pop you with a shot.
Easy.
So maybe they should have stayed in the vault, and the same goes for the most ridiculous Fortnite Mares item in history. With Halloween just around the corner, everyone is praying for Epic to keep Pickle Rick in the vault. In 2022, instead of some good horror collabs, we were tortured with Mr. Meeseeks and Pickle Rick.
looks so bad in the Meeseeks. Dude, Summer looks so terrible. I'm sorry. That look at her face. It looks so bad.
But before we make the change to Chapter 6, there is one holiday event around the corner, Fortnite Mares. Of course, as part of this tradition, Epic is definitely going to bring back witch brooms, but fans were not happy about this last year. When they first released, you could easily thunder pump people with them.
I've got you in my sights.
However, last Halloween, Epic completely nerfed them, adding weapon delay. They're basically a glorified launch pad at this point. And I don't need to tell you why Coral Castle needs to stay away. We thought it was finally gone for good when Chapter 2 ended, only for the Vibin season to slowly bring it back. There was a chance you'd log in and find your favorite POI was turned into a Coral Castle theme. Immediately everyone was like, not again. And now we are a month away from OG Chapter 2, where in all likelihood, Coral will return in its full glory. I don't know whether to beg for Epic to leave this in the vault or land here again just for the experience. I just hope the train is left behind in Chapter 5. It's honestly kind of sad knowing how players wanted this for years. We all thought the idea of a train would be incredible. It sounded great on paper, but in practice, well, we all know how bad it was. It wasn't like the train had an interior and chests everywhere to fight over. It was just an open platform rolling around the map. When Fortnite removed this a season later, we were hoping it had a reason. Maybe they were finally making the much needed improvements. Turned out to be wishful thinking when we got its return, only to get the same train with a Doom logo slapped on it. Yeah, definitely could have stayed in the vault. But if you were around to experience boogie bombs last season, you'll know they definitely need to stay in the vault. Now back then, cars were so powerful that everyone was desperate for a way to counter them. And we all suggested EMPs, but instead for some reason, Epic handed us boogie bombs.
I want you to have it.
I don't really want this.
Problem was, these were more broken than ever, becoming 10 times more OP than before thanks to a terrible change. Before, if you got shot while dancing, it canceled the animation, but sometimes it would take a couple seconds before giving you control again.
Help me! Help me!
Oh man.
Now when the driftboard captured our hearts in Chapter 1, we were all pretty bummed out that it was an OG exclusive. Lucky for us, Fortnite had a solution. Just drop a reskin version and it won't be the same thing. Except with the TMNT driftboard, it wasn't just a reskin, they added charge. Basically ruined the whole vehicle, so Epic, keep it in the vault. We all got trolled when Fortnite decided to reveal the Nitro minigun. This appeared in the trailer and looked incredible. Fans thought this would be a nitro powered gun that could shoot hundreds of bullets. We waited the whole season to find out that, well, we were wrong. In the final week, they gave us a normal minigun, nothing special about it. It turns out the one in the trailer just had a wrap on it, making us all look like total idiots. Okay, maybe just me. To make things worse, the regular minigun was thrown back in the vault just days later with Season 3's end. Now lately, we have been pretty spoiled by Epic, you gotta admit, after asking for Tilted Towers back all these years, they seriously delivered. Not just with OG Fortnite, but Reload, as well as Lego, Tilted is everywhere. It makes you realize just how bad POIs like Salty Towers and Bony Burbs were. All we wanted back then was the original city, and Fortnite kept handing us back random mashups, like when they combo with Salty Springs or turn it into this weird primal location. In fact, tons of players didn't even recognize this as Tilted. They just assumed it was an original POI. And so this is one of the only things in this video that is thankfully not leaving the vault. One POI really should have stayed there. In Chapter 3, we were introduced to the Daily Bugle, and while this was super unique and a fun location to drop, its replacement was not up to par. We all hoped the volcano would flood the Bugle with lava, bringing back this iconic POI from Chapter 1. Only for a different area to show up, Lazy Lagoon. It didn't fit the season at all and nobody wanted this, especially when you had to tell your friends to drop at the Daily Bloomgle and Lustrous Lagoon. How's this for a thought experiment? If Cowcatchers and Chonkers had stayed in the vault, would the Wasteland season have been so hated? I mean, these attachments were the foundation of car mods. Their popularity might have inspired Fortnite to create a whole theme around it. Of course, it ended up being one of the most controversial seasons since Primal, so are Chonkers and Cowcatchers to blame? One to think about. For something more concrete, a ton of players will agree that Fire really needs to stay in the vault. Just like invisibility, disguising as props is something that people have never liked in VR. It's fun to play a dedicated prop hunt map, but when you drop somewhere like Moisty Palms and get forced to search for props, it gets tiring. Fortnite still didn't get the memo in Chapter 2 when the Fire released, allowing anyone to become a prop no matter where they were. Okay, it could be interesting, there may be some potential here, except the list of props was tiny. They weren't even common on the map, so it's not like you could disguise as a tree or something. It was only items that stuck out. Now I gotta admit, I've always been the person advocating for the return of Dr. Sloan. She was a great villain, and let's be honest, the most fleshed out we've ever had. The rest of them die out after like 2 months, but when Sloan was killed off, it actually felt like a big deal. Fans were praying for her return, but that's when Donald Mustard left, handing over keys to the storyline. So when Sloan was finally revealed as alive, it was exciting, and that's it. Nothing really happened with her. The writers didn't give much for her character, and she took charge of quests for like a season. I haven't heard much from Sloan since chapter 4 ended, so honestly, they should have saved her return for a more dramatic comeback. Maybe redeeming herself to save us. Feels a little weird to say out loud, but players want mechs to stay in the vault because they're too weak. If you told me this in 2019, I would have laughed at you. But when people spent their gold bars to get brutes back in the game, it wasn't great. Epic were terrified of a Season X 2.0, so they nerfed these into the ground and gave them limited spawns. Not to mention, players are way better at the game than they used to be, so they put up more of a fight against these, making brutes useless. It felt weird, but it also showed a major flaw. Epic has no idea how to balance these things. As a result, probably best that they stay in the vault. When it comes to fan voting, sometimes we can't be trusted, let's be honest. The block was a disaster from day one, forcing Fortnite to remove it for controversies and bring it back in a strange way. Now we could rebuild Tilted and vote for our favorite fan creations, except they accidentally gave one of the options a default selection. This meant if you spam votes for XP, it would be rigged towards one candidate, so Epic, please never bring this system back. The same goes for a beloved character. Sure, everyone loves Midas and we campaigned for his return for years. Fortnite was constantly teasing it, with POI showing his signature, his crew belongings, and dialogue talking about his plan. Eventually he returned to get a happier ending than a shark bite. We gotta break him free from the underworld before taking him back to the yacht and letting his crew sail into the sunset. Right now, they are exploring the world and enjoying their life, which feels like the best ending here. Not really sure Midas needs to come back anymore. The story was meant to be over years ago, and thanks to fan demand, Epic gave them this short conclusion. I'm hoping he stays vaulted to keep the story intact. It's been Tommy, and keep it here on Top 5 Gaming.